Hello, my name is Terry Webb. I'm the publisher and editor of Amazing Figure Modeler magazine.
I'm David Fisher, publisher and art director of Amazing Figure Modeler.
It was around 90, I believe. Dave started sending photos into a magazine I used to work with called Model and Toy Collector, and Dave's work stood out at the time because a lot of guys weren't apt at taking photos of their work. And Dave was a really good modeler and a really good photographer, so we had a great collection. He just dumped a bunch of photos in our lap. They were all monster type kits. So we remembered Dave, we remembered his name, and I stayed in touch with him. I actually got to meet him at the '91 Louisville show, this show actually. Yeah. I met back then and told him we were really impressed with his work, and I said, hey, would you like to write for the magazine?
He started having me write for Model Toy Collector, and I guess I wrote for about 2 years. I started the Model Mania column, and the publisher, Bill Brugman, had kind of decided to take the magazine in a different direction and go more. He was really the toy guy, and Terry was the model guy, and he decided to kind of go more in the toy direction with it. So, Terry called me one night. He's like, it looks kind of like we're going to be out of a job here shortly. And I just said, I've got a background in graphic design, and I've always wanted to do something like this. So we just decided to try to do our own magazine. I figured, between all of his connections and I could lay the thing out, I didn't think we could, find a problem giving it a shot. So we tried it.
Well, when we do the magazine, Dave's got his set responsibilities and I have mine, but it's not like, I cross over into his and he crosses over into mine. We just kind of throw ideas back and forth. But mainly what I do is I'll sit down with him, and several issues out, we always know what we're targeting. We always know it blocks of 2 issues what we're doing. We have an original themed issue coming out. Right. So between now and when the issues come out, we constantly brainstorm, and I'll try to come up with the painting angle that the articles take and assign them to the writers. And I take care of all the banking and the mail and all that stuff.
I do all the graphic design and layout of the magazine, the way it looks, a lot of the photography, and I'm responsible for the covers. I don't paint every cover, I don't do every cover, but yet, I design them and come up with the concept. I look at it from a marketable standpoint. You want a cover that's going to make somebody pick it off the shelf and want to buy it. While we both come up with the ideas of things a lot of times or whatever, I guess my main job is to really just pull it all together and make it look good. That's kind of the thing. You're selling the sizzle, so to speak. Terry's a good idea man. We'll talk about ideas, and he's always got something going. It's like, don't let that face fool you. He's actually not a bad guy. He's pretty smart. Well, I told Terry early on, one thing I wanted was, I remember when I was a kid, I used to get Famous Monsters of Filmland, and there was nothing more exciting than going to the mailbox and that magazine being in, and you pull it out of the envelope and see the cover. And I said, I want people to have that same jolt. That's why we don't, if you ever notice, we don't show our covers ahead of time. We don't put them on the website till it's actually shipped. Because I want that surprise. If it's up there and people are looking at it for 3 months, then when they get it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I've seen this one. When's the next one coming? So, I really want that jolt of excitement and kind of like, wow, when they pull it out of the envelope.
It would, in a perfect world, it'd be great to do it, but what people don't realize, they look at the magazine, and we've actually had people say this to us, they think we're in a high-rise somewhere. And they don't realize, Dave's down in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm up in Columbus, Ohio. So, it's a lot of just long-distance messaging and whatnot, so that slows down the process. We're not like in the same city, and we can't move that quick. But the main problem that we'll find with this is that this hobby, even though it kicks out enough product that it could go for a monthly publication, there's not enough money generated by it. We would have gone broke had we tried to establish that schedule. So from the Model and Collector Toy days, I realized that quarterly, I wish there was more, but it's a nice pace. It's not like we have to sprint through this. We're jogging through it. And so combine that with working with all these different artists, advertisers, all these little different entities. We have to tile the knots between and everything. It's a long process.
And we could do it cheaper, more black and white. If you did cutting costs, you might could do that, but then it wouldn't be FM. It wouldn't be special. So I'd rather have it 4 times a year and it be 4 great issues than 6 or 12 times a year and be a lot of filler and a lot of guys going, well, that one wasn't very good. What about the next one? So,
well, for people who don't realize what recasting is, It's where an artist, after he has created a piece, someone will buy a copy of it, and then what they'll do is they'll go and they'll put it in rubber or RTV, and they basically remold it. They make a mold of their own, and now they're able to sell copies of it. And they normally offer it at a far reduced rate. A lot of times it's a far inferior product, because it's not their product. They just want to hurry up and make some copies and make some quick money on it. But what's wrong with it is that the original guy who produced it, he's invested time into it, and he's got his money into the molding and whatnot. So he has to offer it at a certain level, a price level. Well, the recaster, he can cut all those corners and offer it for far cheaper, and he's undercutting. He's taking the legs out of the original producers. So it's very damaging in that fact, where you can't keep people coming into the hobby because they keep getting ripped off by these guys. Right. And the guys that are doing it, they don't have to worry about advertising and a lot of the other costs associated with producing a kit. And they come out smelling like a rose because they're offering the product to someone at a third of the price.
I know how it is to want something and maybe not be able to afford it. But, I say, save your money. Ask for it as a present, whatever, but just to go out there and buy a bootleg copy of something to own it, okay, you did that, you got your kit and you got it cheap, but the guy who produced that kit, if enough people do that to him, he's not going to keep producing kits. And the people that everybody professes to love in this hobby and want their product and want their stuff, they're leaving the hobby. I mean, we hear it all the time. We talk to these guys, and they're frustrated. They're like, I spend 2 months on a sculpture, 3 months on a sculpture, or I paid a guy $2,000, $3,000 to sculpt a kit, and I can't break even. I didn't break even. It got bootlegged. You talk to these guys. There's a guy in Australia right now that's really a talented new guy that's coming into the hobby, which is what we need. We need new, fresh talent. He produces 2 beautiful busts. And one of them, unfortunately, has already been knocked off, and it's not even been offered for sale yet. It got knocked off before it was put on the market. And this poor guy, he's sitting there like, I'd like to at least make my money back before this happens. And you're thinking, how can the hobby survive if this kind of stuff continues? And like I said, I sympathize with people wanting affordable product, but at the same time, you have to look at it like you're investing in the future of the hobby when you buy an original piece. And when you buy a bootleg, you're killing it off.
Fortunately, we've seen the dramatic effect it's had on artists, and they're only going to get ripped off so many times. It's only human nature, and we've lost some really good artists. We lost them to the giftware market. We've lost them to the toy market. We've lost them just completely because they've lost interest in it.
From Horizon to Screamin' to now geometric design, these stalwarts of the hobby are folding and going under. For not all the reasons of recasting, but a big chunk of it. George Geometric, he's saying that his entire overseas sales was just crushed by cheap knockoffs from Asia.
And this is a company that has been around for a decade, and they took out license on all their stuff that they had produced, and another company just comes in. It's comparable to running a marathon race and the guy jumping in 500 feet before the finish line and coming across the finish line saying, "Hey, I'm in first place." I mean, it's just any way you slice it, recasting is very detrimental to our hobby. So we'd like to see it stop and concentrate on the people that are doing it right.
Mainly just I'd like to see everybody in the hobby, stick with it, have fun. I'd love to see more talent come into the hobby, more people give it a shot. The thing that this hobby needs is, growth. It's like anything. You want to grow and you want to bring new talent, new blood into it, new modelers. So we're doing our part to keep things going and promote the hobby and the people in the hobby. And, just everybody have a lot of fun with it.
I'd just like to say, if you've gotten the magazine and you bought it in the past, thank you very much. We appreciate your support. I'd also like to say that if you haven't tried modeling, you should. It's great therapy. Look at us, we're laid back and relaxed. But yeah, it's a really fun hobby, and in this day and age, everything is just pre-made, prefabricated, disposable, and whatnot. And what our hobby focuses on is working with your hands and your mind and your creativity. And if you used to do modeling when you were younger and have forgotten about it, come back to it. It's a really lively hobby, really fun. I'm sure you got all the stuff on the tape here if you've seen it, and it's like Dave says, anyone can be a part of it, and we'd love to have you.